High Counselor Zextal of the Nixian Empire stood before the Galactic Council's massive observation screen, his iridescent scales reflecting the soft blue glow of countless star charts. The holographic display highlighted a seemingly unremarkable solar system in the Orion Arm, focusing on a blue-green planet that had recently caught the Council's attention. This species, he declared, mandibles clicking with barely concealed disdain, has barely mastered basic fusion technology. They still fight among themselves over primitive resources. They are, by definition, a Category 3 civilization, barely worthy of our notice. The assembled council members, representing 12 of the most powerful spacefaring races in the known galaxy, murmured in agreement. Their massive chamber, carved from a single asteroid of pure crystalline carbon, housed the collective wisdom of over 50,000 years of interstellar civilization. First speaker Cthera, her ethereal form floating above the central podium, raised a tendril in question. Yet you bring their case before us, High Counselor. Why? Zextal's upper eyes narrowed while his lower pair focused on the tactical displays. Because despite their primitive nature, they occupy a strategically valuable region. The solar system contains significant quantities of rare elements we require for our expansion. More importantly, their position could serve as a crucial waypoint for our operations in the Orion sector. The holographic display shifted, showing detailed scans of Earth's military capabilities, antiquated nuclear weapons, primitive kinetic weapons, and a handful of orbital platforms drew scattered laughter from the council members. They still use chemical propulsion for their spacecraft, noted War Master Yildren of the Pyraxian Collective, his crystalline form vibrating with amusement. Their most advanced weapons would barely scratch our civilian vessels. Zextal moved through the holographic display, his claws manipulating the images with practiced ease. Precisely. Which is why I propose a peaceful annexation. A simple show of force should suffice. We position our 7th Fleet in their system, demonstrate our technological superiority, and they will understand the futility of resistance. In the shadows of the chamber, Observer Chereth remained silent, their ancient eyes studying the images of human civilization. Unlike their colleagues, they noticed details others dismissed: the incredible speed at which humans advanced from primitive tools to spaceflight, their remarkable adaptability, and most importantly, their constant state of military evolution. First speaker Cthera's voice echoed through the chamber. Are there any objections to High Counselor Zextal's proposal? Chereth considered speaking, but remained silent. Some lessons they knew had to be learned firsthand. The Council's databases contained abundant information about humanity's military history, but the Council members, comfortable in their technological superiority, hadn't bothered to study it deeply. Then it is decided, Cthera declared. The Nixian Empire will proceed with the peaceful annexation of Earth. High Counselor, you may deploy your fleet at your discretion. As the council members filed out, Zextal approached Chereth, noting their contemplative stance. You seem troubled, Observer. Chereth's multifaceted eyes shifted, focusing on the High Counselor. I merely find it interesting that none of you asked why humans fight so frequently among themselves. What does it matter? Their internal conflicts only prove their primitive nature. Perhaps, Chereth responded softly, or perhaps it proves they have more experience with warfare than any species in this chamber. After all, High Counselor, when was the last time the Nixian Empire fought a real war? Zextal dismissed the comment with a wave of his armored claw. Experience with primitive warfare means nothing against our technology. The 7th Fleet will arrive in their system within 30 rotations. This humanity will understand their place in the galaxy, one way or another. As Zextal strode away, Chereth turned back to the holographic display, watching recordings of human conflicts. They noticed how each war brought rapid technological advancement, how humans constantly adapted their tactics, how they turned their enemies' strengths into weaknesses. In the privacy of their own thoughts, Chereth composed a message to be sent to their home world. The Council has made a grave miscalculation. They see humanity's constant warfare as a sign of primitiveness. They don't understand that they're about to challenge a species that has turned war into an art form, that has never known true peace, that has survived and thrived through countless conflicts. The Council believes humans don't know war. They will learn, at great cost, that humans know little else. As the message was encrypted and sent, the first ships of the Seventh Fleet were already preparing for departure. The massive vessels, each capable of destroying a small moon, represented the pinnacle of Nixian military technology. Their crews were confident, their commanders assured of an easy victory. None of them knew they were about to make first contact with the most dangerous predators in the galaxy, a species that had turned their own violent nature into their greatest strength. Humanity was about to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the heart of Cheyenne Mountain's newly expanded command center, her expression unreadable as she watched the massive alien fleet materialize at the edge of the solar system. The room hummed with controlled tension as hundreds of operators maintained absolute radio silence, following protocols established years ago for exactly this scenario. 37 capital ships, reported Captain Marcus Rodriguez, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. Energy signatures far beyond anything we've ever seen. Their smallest vessel could probably vaporize half a continent. Chen didn't react to the report. Instead, she touched a small comm unit on her collar. Operation Shadow Web is now active. All cells initiated. Across Earth and throughout the solar system, humanity's true response began, invisible to the approaching alien armada. Deep beneath the Mariana Trench, antimatter production facilities that had been disguised as oceanographic research stations accelerated their output. In underground bases scattered across every continent, quantum computers finished their final calculations on alien shield frequencies, based on decades of studying mysterious, crashed spacecraft that humanity had actually shot down. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, announced Communications Chief Yuki Tanaka. Standard first contact package, lots of pretty pictures about peace and civilization, followed by what's clearly a surrender demand. Admiral Chen allowed herself a small smile. Send the prepared response. Full submission, complete with the appropriate amount of fear and awe. Let's give them exactly what they expect. In high orbit, the Nixian fleet's commanders congratulated themselves on their efficient operation. The humans had responded exactly as predicted, with shock, fear, and immediate offers of submission. High Commander Vexlor watched with satisfaction as human leaders worldwide appeared to scramble in panic. What the Nixians couldn't see was the truth beneath the surface. In abandoned mines throughout the asteroid belt, automated factories that had been operating in secret for decades continued producing quantum-encrypted microsatellites. On Mars, beneath the cover of dust storms, massive hangars opened to reveal squadrons of ships that had never appeared on any official record. In her office at the United Nations, Secretary General Amara Okoro participated in a video conference with the alien commanders, playing her role perfectly. Her hands shook slightly as she signed the document of surrender, her voice trembling as she agreed to their terms. The moment the transmission ended, her demeanor changed completely. Status of Project Thanatos, she asked crisply. All systems green, reported her military aide. The nanite swarms are fully programmed with their alien biological data. Phase 2 can begin at your command. Beneath the ice of Europa, in a facility unknown even to most of Earth's governments, Dr. James Chen, no relation to the Admiral, supervised the final adjustments to the quantum entanglement drive. The device represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, faster than light travel based on principles the aliens had never even considered. The beauty of it, he explained to his team, is that they're so confident in their superiority that they're not even looking for these signatures. Their sensors are designed to detect traditional propulsion systems. In Silicon Valley bunkers and Indian tech hubs, AI systems that had been trained on centuries of human warfare analyzed every piece of data about the alien fleet, finding weaknesses that even the ship's designers didn't know existed. In African quantum computing centers, algorithms worked out precision strike calculations that would make Sun Tzu proud. Admiral Chen received hourly updates from all these operations, each one carefully encrypted and transmitted through channels that appeared to be normal civilian communications. The aliens, monitoring everything they could intercept, saw only a planet in disarray, its leadership struggling to maintain order in the face of their overwhelming might. They're beginning their orbital deployment, Rodriguez reported, setting up their command and control systems exactly where we predicted they would. Chen nodded. And their ship's positions. Proceeding according to standard military doctrine. Their doctrine, not ours. They're following their textbook perfectly. Of course they are, Chen mused. They haven't had to innovate in warfare for thousands of years. Why would they? She turned to face the massive strategic display. Have they noticed any of our preparations? Negative, Admiral. Their scans are exactly as superficial as we hoped. They're seeing what they expect to see. Primitive defenses, outdated weapons, and a completely disorganized response. In the Nixian fleet's command ship, High Commander Vexlor was preparing his victory report to the Council. The humans had proved even easier to subjugate than predicted. Their military forces were standing down, their governments were cooperating, and soon this strategic system would belong to the Empire. Below his ship, humanity continued its preparations. In secret bases and hidden facilities, soldiers trained with weapons that officially didn't exist. Engineers made final adjustments to defense systems that no alien scan could detect. And in command centers worldwide, military leaders waited patiently for the order that would reveal humanity's true face to the galaxy. Status of the quantum mesh, Chen asked. Complete coverage achieved, Rodriguez confirmed. We can shut down their communications at any time. Chen nodded slowly. And the psychological warfare package? Ready to broadcast. The A's analysis suggests it will be particularly effective against their hierarchical military structure. The Admiral allowed herself another small smile. Remind me to thank the xenobiologists for their work on alien psychology. It's about to become very relevant. She turned to her command staff. Time until all systems are ready. 3 days, Admiral. Perfect. Let them get comfortable. Let them deploy their forces exactly where they think they should be. Chen's eyes hardened. Let them think they've won. Because in 3 days, they're going to learn why humans have never achieved lasting peace. We're just too damn good at war. The first hint that something was wrong came when High Commander Vexlor's flagship lost contact with its forward screening elements. The disruption was brief, merely a few seconds of static. But in those seconds, 3 Nixian destroyers simply vanished from space. Sensor malfunction, declared his technical officer, mandibles twitching nervously. The humans' primitive communications must be interfering with our systems. Vexlor wasn't convinced. Launch probe drones to the last known coordinates. Before the order could be carried out, every screen in the command center suddenly flickered to life. The image was simple. A human face, female, wearing what appeared to be a military uniform. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force, she announced, her voice carrying an edge that made Vexlor's scales ripple with unease. You were warned. The hunt begins now. Throughout the solar system, humanity unveiled its carefully laid trap. The seemingly innocent debris fields around Earth's orbital lanes suddenly came alive. Thousands of microscopic robots, each carrying a payload of antimatter, swarmed toward Nixian ships like angry insects. Impossible, screamed the Nixian sensor officer as the first wave struck. Shields designed to repel energy weapons and kinetic impacts proved useless against attackers smaller than dust motes. Hull breaches blossomed across the fleet, but this was just the beginning. From the dark side of Mars, a hidden fleet of Earth vessels emerged, their quantum drives allowing them to appear virtually instantaneously beside their targets. These ships didn't engage in traditional space combat. Instead, they launched specialized weapons that the Nixians had never encountered. Multiple hull breaches reported across the fleet, reported Captain Rodriguez in Earth's command center. Nanite swarms are successfully penetrating their environmental systems. Admiral Chen nodded grimly. Activate the biochemical protocol. The nanites, specifically engineered based on decades of studying alien biology, began their work. Within minutes, entire crews found themselves unable to process oxygen, their alien biochemistry betrayed by microscopic invaders. In orbit around Jupiter, hidden installations that had masqueraded as research outposts revealed their true nature. Quantum entanglement beams lashed out, targeting the Nixian ship's communication arrays with surgical precision. Cut off from each other, the mighty alien fleet began to fragment. "Enemy fleet is breaking formation," announced Rodriguez. "They're attempting to regroup at their predetermined rally points." "Exactly as expected," Chen replied. "Activate the gravity web." Hidden throughout the asteroid belt, quantum gravity generators came online. Space itself seemed to twist, creating corridors of distorted gravity that the Nixian ships couldn't avoid. Their mighty engines, capable of crossing light years, now struggled against forces they weren't designed to resist. On Earth, Secretary General Okoro addressed the planet. "Citizens of Earth, the time for deception is over. For decades, we prepared for this moment. While they watched our public space program and smiled at our primitive technology, we built something far greater in secret. Today, we show the galaxy why humanity survived its own violent history." In the Nixian flagship, Vexilor watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled. Human ships seemed to appear from nowhere, strike with impossible precision, and vanish before his gunners could respond. Every tactic in the Nixian military manual proved useless against an enemy that didn't fight according to any recognized doctrine. "Launch the automated defense drones," he ordered desperately. The drones deployed, their artificial intelligence engaging their weapons, only to freeze as human quantum computers seized control of their networks. The drones turned, their weapons now targeting their own ships. Fascinating, isn't it? Admiral Chen's image appeared again on their screens. "How we took control of your eye so easily. We've been fighting against ourselves for so long, we learned to hack our own systems centuries ago. Your computer security was child's play in comparison." Throughout the solar system, the hunt continued. Earth ships, crewed by veterans of countless war games and simulations, executed maneuvers that the Nixians had never seen. Each human vessel operated independently, following mission parameters but adapting freely to the situation, a concept alien to the rigid Nixian command structure. "They're attempting to open hyperspace windows," Rodriguez reported. Chen's expression hardened. "Activate the quantum disruption field." The fleeing Nixian ships found their hyperspace drives suddenly useless. The humans had saturated the entire solar system with a field that made faster-than-light travel impossible, except for their own quantum drives, which operated on completely different principles. "Send the message to their homeworld," Chen ordered. "Let them see what happens when you underestimate humanity." Across encrypted channels that the Nixians didn't even know existed, footage of the battle was transmitted directly to the Galactic Council. The Council members watched in stunned silence as humanity demonstrated warfare on a level they had never imagined possible. In the Council chamber, Observer Chereth watched the footage with grim satisfaction. "I tried to warn them," they murmured. "Humans don't just practice war, they perfect it. And now the galaxy will never be the same." As the third hour of combat ended, more than half of the mighty Seventh Fleet had been neutralized. The remaining ships, their crews struggling against the engineered bioweapon, their systems compromised by human eye, and their movement restricted by artificial gravity fields, faced a choice: surrender or destruction. High Commander Vexilor, watching his mighty fleet reduced to scattered, helpless vessels, finally understood. The humans hadn't been primitive at all. They had simply been waiting, watching, and preparing. And now, his empire would pay the price for their fatal assumption. In the burning wreckage of what had once been the Nixian flag bridge, High Commander Vexilor watched his empire's greatest fleet die. But it wasn't just the physical destruction that terrified him. It was the psychological warfare that the humans had unleashed. Every surviving ship in his fleet was now broadcasting human historical footage, images of terrestrial wars, of human armies adapting and evolving, of weapons becoming more sophisticated with each conflict. The message was clear. Everything humanity had learned from fighting itself was now being turned against the Nixians. "Sir," his remaining communications officer called out, voice trembling. We're receiving transmissions from the surface, from every human military installation worldwide." The screens filled with images of weapons and technologies that the Nixians had never imagined possible. Hidden bases revealed arsenals that made their own weapons look primitive. But it was the casual way the humans displayed their power that struck the deepest fear into the alien hearts. In the Sahara Desert, massive doors opened in the sand, revealing shipyards that had been hidden for decades. Dr. Elena Santos, head of the Earth Defense Force's Advanced Weapons Division, stood before a camera, gesturing to rows of sleek vessels. "These are our Phantom-class stealth destroyers," she explained, as if giving a routine briefing. "We reverse-engineered their principles from studying alien wreckage, then improved upon them. The Nixians can't detect them because we designed them specifically to exploit the blind spots in their sensor technology." In Antarctica, General Zhang Wei demonstrated another of humanity's secrets. "Our quantum tunneling missiles don't need to overcome enemy shields," he explained, as a demonstration missile passed effortlessly through a test barrier. They simply bypassed them entirely, rematerializing inside the target. Admiral Chen watched from her command center as the psychological impact of these revelations spread through the enemy fleet. "Begin Phase 4, she ordered. "Show them why we're called predators." Across the solar system, humanity's most advanced weapons platforms revealed themselves. The primitive orbital satellites transformed, unfolding into weapon configurations that even the Galactic Council's best scientists couldn't comprehend. "You see," Chen's voice echoed through every Nixian ship, "we learned something from studying your technology. You advanced in a straight line, always building upon previous discoveries. But humans, we think sideways. We look for alternatives, for ways around problems rather than through them." From beneath Europa's ice, massive energy signatures suddenly appeared. Dr. James Chen's quantum entanglement drive had been refined into something even more terrifying, a weapon that could literally rewrite the laws of physics within a localized area. "Fascinating design," Dr. Chen narrated as the weapon powered up. "It creates a bubble where the speed of light is temporarily reduced to walking pace. Imagine what that does to your ship's energy shields, which rely on light-speed particle interactions." The demonstration that followed haunted the Nixian survivors for years. Ships caught in the effect simply fell apart as fundamental forces stopped working the way they were supposed to. But it wasn't just the advanced technology that terrified the aliens. It was the way humans fought, unpredictably, adaptively, and with a creativity that bordered on artistic. "Combat drone squadrons executing attack pattern Delta," reported Captain Rodriguez. The drones, controlled by AI systems that had evolved from video game algorithms, moved in ways that made no sense to Nixian tactical computers. They exploited blind spots that the aliens didn't even know they had. In the Galactic Council chamber, the emergency session had devolved into chaos. Species that had looked down on humanity for generations watched in horror as their assumptions were systematically destroyed. "How?" demanded First Speaker Cathera. "How did they hide all of this?" Observer Chereth stepped forward. "They didn't hide it. You just didn't look properly. Every piece of their history showed you what they were capable of. Their entertainment media was filled with scenarios of alien invasions. They weren't creating fiction. They were planning, gaming out every possibility, preparing." On Earth, Secretary General Okoro addressed the planet again. "For centuries, we dreamed of reaching the stars. When we realized we weren't alone, we hoped for peaceful contact. But we prepared for war. Because that's what humanity has always done. We take our greatest weakness, our capacity for violence, and we perfect it into a shield for our civilization. The remaining Nixian ships, trapped and helpless, received their final transmission from Admiral Chen. Your empire thought we were primitive because we still fought among ourselves. What you fail to understand is that every internal conflict was practice. Every war was a lesson. Every battle taught us something new. And now, you're experiencing the results of thousands of years of human military evolution. In his ruined command center, High Commander Vexlor finally understood the true horror of his situation. His mighty fleet hadn't just been defeated. It had been systematically dismantled by an enemy that had anticipated and prepared for every move before the battle even began. "Send the surrender signal," he ordered, his voice barely a whisper. But the humans weren't finished. They had one final lesson to teach, and the Galactic Council was about to learn why challenging humanity had been the greatest mistake in their history. The Galactic Council's great crystalline chamber had never felt so small. The mighty representatives of 12 interstellar civilizations sat in stunned silence as Admiral Chen's hologram stood in their midst, her presence somehow filling the vast space more completely than their physical forms. "You believed us primitive because we hadn't achieved unity," she said, her voice carrying no hint of anger, only certainty. "What you fail to understand is that our divisions made us stronger. Every culture on Earth developed its own way of thinking, its own way of fighting, its own way of surviving. When we finally united, we didn't eliminate these differences. We synthesized them." The tactical displays showed the remnants of the once proud Nixian 7th Fleet, now surrounded by weapons platforms that hadn't existed in any official record. But it wasn't the military defeat that truly terrified the Council. It was the methodical way humans had orchestrated it. Consider this: Secretary General Okoro's hologram joined Chen's. While you watched our public space program struggle with chemical rockets, we were testing quantum drives in secret facilities. While you monitored our primitive satellite network, we were building a quantum communication grid that you couldn't even detect. Every piece of primitive technology we showed you was carefully crafted theater. First Speaker Thera's ethereal form flickered with distress. "But why? If you had this technology, why not join the galactic community openly?" Dr. James Chen appeared next, his hologram carrying a tablet filled with equations that made several council members' visual organs hurt. "Because we studied your history. You've grown complacent. Your technology advances in predictable ways. We knew that if we revealed ourselves too soon, you'd simply copy our innovations and overwhelm us with numbers. So we waited," Admiral Chen continued. "We recovered your crashed ships. We studied your biology. We analyzed your psychology. And we prepared, not just weapons, but an entire strategy for facing a technologically superior opponent, something humanity has extensive experience with." Observer Chereth, standing in their usual shadow, finally spoke. They turned their greatest flaw into their greatest strength. Their history of conflict gave them something none of us have: the constant drive to innovate in warfare. The chamber's displays shifted, showing human military bases emerging from deserts, oceans, and ice sheets. Each facility represented decades of secret development, all hidden from the Council's most sophisticated scanning technology. "But surely," one council member ventured, "now that we've seen your true capabilities, our combined fleets could." "Could what?" Admiral Chen's voice carried an edge that made several council members recoil. "Could attack in greater numbers. We've already seeded every major system in council space with quantum entanglement nodes. We can strike anywhere, at any time, without warning." Secretary General Okoro raised a hand. "But that's not what we want. Humanity doesn't seek conquest. We seek security. Insurance against exactly the kind of annexation the Nixian Empire attempted." The tactical displays shifted again, showing the quantum gravity web that had trapped the Nixian fleet. "This technology," Dr. Chen explained, "can be deployed anywhere in the galaxy within seconds. We can shut down faster than light travel in any system we choose. Your economies would collapse within days. We're not here to threaten you, Admiral Chen assured them, though her posture suggested otherwise. We're here to establish new parameters for our relationship with the galactic community. A new hologram appeared, a document that would later be known as the Terra Accords. Its terms were surprisingly reasonable. Earth would share some of its technological innovations, but maintain others as defensive guarantees. Human representatives would join the Council, but Earth would maintain its independence. You thought we needed to learn civilization from you, Secretary General Okoro stated. Instead, we offer you something you've forgotten. The drive to innovate, to adapt, to evolve. Humanity's gift to the galaxy isn't just new technology. It's the reminder that comfort breeds stagnation, and conflict, properly channeled, can drive progress. First speaker Cathera, after consulting with the other council members, spoke. And if we refuse these terms, Admiral Chen's hologram smiled, an expression that several council members found more terrifying than any weapon. We've already demonstrated what happens when humanity is threatened. Do you really want to see what we can do when we're actually trying to win a war? The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans hadn't just defeated a fleet. They had systematically dismantled the assumptions of a galactic civilization that had stood for 50,000 years. There's an old human saying, Observer Churith offered into the silence. Si vis pacem, parabellum. If you want peace, prepare for war. Humanity didn't just prepare. They turned preparation into an art form. The vote that followed was unanimous. The Terra Accords were ratified, and humanity took its place among the galactic powers, not as supplicants or primitives, but as equals who had earned their position through the most human of traits, the ability to turn adversity into advantage. As the council session ended, Admiral Chen had one final message. Remember this day, she said. Remember what happened when you mistook human division for weakness, when you assumed our conflicts made us primitive. Because we remember everything, every battle, every war, every lesson learned in blood, and we'll never stop preparing for the next challenge. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not through peaceful advancement, but by demonstrating why their violent history had created something unique in the cosmos, a species that had turned warfare into a science, preparation into an art, and survival into an absolute certainty. In the years that followed, other species would learn to thank their ancestors that humans had chosen cooperation over conquest. Because as the defeated Nixian fleet had learned, there was one truth that the galaxy now understood. Humans didn't just know war, they had mastered it.